to Mindshock. This is your host, Bruce McKay, and you're listening to the Maura series. This is the live Q&A part 4, going over some new information not previously discussed, as well as taking all questions from the live chat. This is Mindshock True Crime. If you want to help support the podcast, keep up awareness in cold cases, missing persons cases, wrongful convictions, and more, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, the Bruce McKay channel here, the home of Mindshock. Like and share, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patreon to your priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. Or if you are with us here live in the live chat, I'll try to get to all of them. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Welcome everyone here. So I will let the live chat decide where they want to start with. There has been some chatter recently in the online community about the mysterious Christmas tree farm. There's also another individual, possible suspect, someone with a criminal record, this is all public record, who hasn't been discussed yet, that supposedly was in the vicinity of the area, as well as a group of teen troublemakers who were on Kiln Road, possibly associated with Oh My Coincidence from the old topics forums. Obviously, I have all these receipts that I will be putting up on the screen, as well as possibly new information about the one and only Officer Pepper, Bruce McKay. So, yeah, there is quite a bit to go over. So, yeah, I mean, wherever anybody wants to start with, does anybody have any questions? I mean, it seems like more and more new information has been coming out in this case the past year or two, which is actually interesting because for ever since James Renner left, active commentary on this case, he still chimes in here and there, but not really active like he used to when he had his blog up and all of that, doing interviews left and right on the Maura case. Ever since James Renner left the case, I mean, Julie Murray has provided a couple little things here and there through media pressure and TikTok, but I mean, not really too much game-changing information. But online sleuths, I mean, they've been over this case since day one. I mean, this is right around Facebook coming out. I mean, yeah, this is definitely one of the most perplexing missing persons cases, and also the one with some of the most obvious online obfuscators and trolls. I mean, this is True Crime 101, that in the event, not only if a female is harmed, it's usually the significant other, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, husband, ex-husband, or someone known to them. Not that happened here, but I mean, clearly that's the statistical likelihood. But also, perps often stage their victims' cars. But for whatever reason, in this case, there's just a huge number of goofs. Coincidence theorists, just authority-worshipping cultist bootlickers who think cops can never be responsible for anything shady, or if they are, they're always acting alone. They just don't have the mental capacity, or they're pretending not to understand this is True Crime 101. Vehicles are staged pretty often when someone is harmed. I mean, there's no brain-dead assumption that it wasn't staged. So it's, yeah, it's pretty weird. This case is definitely unique. High number of trolling goofs online compared to other cases. I mean, even the JonBenet Ramsey case, which is much more popular, doesn't have this amount of goofs trolling and obfuscating, or just, a bunch of brain-dead Dunning-Kruger goofs running around commentating on the case nonstop. I mean, obviously there are some in the JonBenet Ramsey case. There are some, but just not this many. So quite unique in that respect as well. And I'm not sure it's all accidental. That might all be by design as well. So welcome, Lords in the chat, walking in 4K. Where does everybody want to start with? So we have to discuss the Christmas tree farm, possibly a new suspect, possibly a group of teen suspects, and some new information regarding Bruce McKay. So I will let the listeners decide where we start with, or if anybody else has any other questions. Just so much shady activity in this case. And so, so Facebook was launched February 4th, 2004. February 4th, 2004. Maura Murray supposedly disappeared February 9th. So several days prior. So just several days after the launch of Facebook. And of course, for those who don't know, when Facebook was launched, it was originally launched as a college student social media site. So it wasn't for grandmas and middle school kids and anyone and everyone in between, or businesses promotion. It was for college students. That's how it was launched. Walking in 4K, you said you had new info? Yeah, quite a bit. Quite a bit of info that has not yet been discussed on any podcast as far as I'm aware. Walking in 4K says, was that the public launch or EDU only? I believe there was some kind of a wall where, I don't know if you had to provide college ID, but there was some kind of verification for college students. I mean, I don't know, maybe you could lie about it, but I mean, not that many people other than college students even knew about it in the first place. So, I mean, I don't know how many people were lying and pretending they were college students to get on it. But yeah. Walking in 4K says, I remember signing up, you needed an EDU email. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think people knew how to spoof those too, or like create artificial ones, but yeah, there was something. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just open for anybody to sign up. You had to have something. Okay. So, Team Neutral Gaming, welcome. So does anybody have a preference for where we're starting? I mean, the Christmas tree farm is on the screen, so perhaps we should start there. So, I mean, there's also, I keep going back to somebody, I mean, there's been quite a few psychics who said some interesting things early on. I mean, it just, I can't shake a couple little things that psychics had said. I mean, it's just kind of ominous. There's little details. We'll get to it, but let's start out with the Christmas tree farm. So, let's see here. So Wallaby on Reddit does a lot of good sleuthing here. So he posted this in the Maura Mindshock subreddit, the only logical subreddit out there, that where logical discussion isn't shut down like on all the sham subreddits, like the so-called official Maura Murray subreddit and the Maura Murray subreddit. A lot of sham moderators out there. More questions and info about the Christmas tree farm near the Saturn scene. It closed down last year and the owner moved on. The Christmas tree farm near the scene of the Saturn closed for good last year. Interesting how it has been open for so long, but right at the exact time that it is mentioned in this case, the guy closes it down and moves on. So that's interesting. So Wallaby is suggesting here that as soon as discussion online started about the Christmas tree farm, it shut down. Now, that could be coincidental. I mean, the coincidence theorist would surely, I mean, this entire case is a coincidence theorist's dream. I mean, the stacks, the stratospheric stacks of coincidences that the coincidence theorists can pretend they're all just mere coincidence. Perhaps more of these in this case than any other. So, when reading more, so this is Wallaby here, when reading more about it, a few things caught my eye. However, just the location and how close it is to the weathered barn, you would think the owner would have been spoken to back in '04. This little white house, let me put that up on the screen here. So this is all in the vicinity of the Weathered Barn corner where the staged accident scene occurred. Apparently staged. That's what independent accident reconstruction experts multiple concluded. I mean, it certainly appears staged. I mean, maybe it's not, but again, we don't really have any conclusive evidence that Maura Murray herself ever left the UMass area. So that's clearly an issue that a lot of coincidence theorists pretend and hallucinate isn't an issue. So regardless, so the Saturn made its way up there. So that is one of the few facts in this case, that the Saturn, owned by Fred Murray, driven by Maura Murray up to a point, possibly not for months. Fred said he took her off the insurance, and the car was not to be driven. So perhaps it was being towed, who knows. But this is all in the vicinity of the Weathered Barn corner. Where the supposed spin-out or staging occurred. Welcome south to west. Maura Murray, a landmark case because it introduced the world to Maxwell powers. Actually, the first episode of Mindshock was a Halloween episode on monsters and ghosts. Alright, so that was everybody's first episode. Bruce McKay and Maxwell Powers as well. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so the little white house in the front usually has a light on at night. It would have been possibly a place Maura may have felt safe heading towards ? The land is huge. There are multiple old barns on the property that could have been searched. I don't usually agree with the Maura died in the woods theories, but what if Maura even passed out on that property when possibly seeking shelter, plenty of places to hide? Again, that's if she was even there, which there's no conclusive evidence that she ever left the UMass area. She's missing from UMass, not from the Saturn in Haverhill, because there's no conclusive evidence that she was with the Saturn. The owner used to frequently drive back and forth from another family's apple farm in Massachusetts, where he also stated he lived temporarily. Oh yeah, one of the Ben guy's neighbors during his time in Lisbon is listed as C. Aldrich. So we went over the Aldriches. There's quite a few different Aldriches, including, there's supposedly two of them are brothers, but there's also a third one. And then the Ben guy that's being referred to. So let's add this. This is all public record, by the way. Obviously, we only discuss public record here. So this is Ben H here. So Wallaby brought this up. So this guy has family connections to the Christmas tree farm near the Weathered Barn. The guy was arrested in late 2004 after Maura vanished for 2 sexual assaults against minors. It looks like his son was the owner of the farm at one point. I can't find if he himself ever worked there. Some of the interesting things that stuck out to me in his background info was the only vehicle listed for him was a 2001 Jeep Cherokee. Something else caught my eye as well. He lived on River Road at one point, and his neighbor was C. Aldridge, who has been mentioned in this case before, along with his ex-girlfriend, Jessica C. This goes back to the early rumor of the party on River Road involving some of these people and Maura being at the party. So again, if you haven't checked out the previous episodes on Jessica C., some of the most damning coincidences that possibly links this Haverhill area and certain criminals linked to Jessica C., as well as UMass. Walking in 4K says, people are people. I mean, that's a classic Maxwell quote. I mean, how can you argue with that? I mean, people are people. Welcome, Clark Rice. Clark Rice, of course, in the chat here. He is the individual with the Maura Murray sighting at UMass. If you haven't checked out the previous episodes here, the previous live Q&As on the Maura Murray case, check those out. Clark Rice has some very interesting thoughts about this case, his own sighting of Maura Murray, and what went on at West Point. Did I say UMass? At West Point. The sighting at West Point. South to West says, Maxwell would pretend he wasn't listening, paying attention, or understanding, but we all know he was. Do you? Do you really think he's that good of an actor? Oh man, you guys are funny. Okay. Flatless says, love the Maura Murray deep dive. Been a while since I jumped into it. I mean, there's so much to go over. What's kind of shocking is just the amount of new information coming out and the amount of connections here between all these individuals. Adam says, I would like to know some of the aliases Aldridge was using. Yes, supposedly he had quite a few. No shortage. No shortage of aliases. Also, why is there so little information out there on this Jessica C. character? I mean, there's some, but there's really not a lot. There's really not a lot. Now, what's also kind of curious, there was a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm trying to remember where it was mentioned, because this vehicle was actually mentioned quite a few times in the case, and this is supposedly one of Ben H's, and one of the first psychics in the case also mentioned the name Ben. Now again, it's not that rare of a name, but still, I don't know if we have a known Ben in this case. Yeah, let me see, because yeah, let me go over what we have here on this Cherokee. Did I go over it? I must have gone over it. Alright, just give me a second here. I'll bring up this information on this vehicle. This was several years ago. So 5 hours after Maura... Yeah, we went over this. 5 hours after Maura disappeared, police saw a suspicious person in the area driving a white Jeep Grand Cherokee. When the police approached him, he ran away. Additionally, police found a random Chrysler part inside Maura's vehicle, maybe a side mirror. Chrysler manufactures Jeep parts. A while ago, I remember someone had a list of items that were inside the vehicle, but I don't recall this being on. Yeah, we talked about this. Okay, so this was in the logs. So there's actually 2 of them. So let's get some receipts here for the coincidence theorists. Yeah, my file on the Maura Murray case is probably the biggest one. I mean, there's just so much here. It's crazy. It is so crazy how much there is here. So coincidentally, like the new coincidence stack here. So there's possibly a Jeep part in her vehicle. There's a criminal whose son owns the nearby Christmas tree farm that shuts down as long as this starts as soon as this starts being discussed online. So here's a 99 Jeep Grand Cherokee, a white 99. They even have the VIN number here. Interesting. Very interesting. This is from the Grafton County logs. Very, very interesting stuff here. There's also corroboration here in the area police news blotter regarding this. Put that on the screen next. So this is the Haverhill Police Department. So we have here... While on patrol in Woodsville February 10th, Cashin noted a suspicious person on Central Street. No contact was made. That's kind of a weird thing to put in official news. Was it like a slow day? That's kind of interesting. Now, notice right after this, too, I don't know what to make of this. February 11th, Corporal Trott issued a motor... Okay, not that one. Trott responded to a report of suspicious footprints in North Haverhill, February 11th. Footprints were traced to a power line pole and back. Why are those suspicious? Do they think people are messing with power lines? So I'm assuming it was suspicious because there was no scheduled maintenance on the power lines or anything. So nobody was supposed to be anywhere near the power lines, and yet there were. What does that mean? But anyway, so those are the receipts here for this suspicious individual. Now, so this guy has a white Jeep Grand Cherokee. What does that mean? What does that mean? Is it all mere coincidence all the time? Perhaps? I mean, is everything coincidence in this case? I mean, it's just so difficult. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of this. Is it possible either she or whoever was driving her vehicle, or whatever tow situation happened, or, I mean, if there was an earlier accident and the vehicle was being towed before the tow situation, is it possible whoever was driving or with Maura's Saturn happened to collide with some kind of criminal? And the criminal, so this is way beyond road rage, if this is some kind of criminal, what would they have done if there was some kind of altercation? Walking in 4K says, I wish the family would be more open about what they know about those days leading up to her disappearance. Well, I mean, Sharon Roush said something happened in Amherst and her Amherst friends know. That was a very damning statement, something along those lines. Thanks for the super chat, Team Neutral Gaming. Love you, Bruce. Thank you for all you do. Yep. Justice delayed is justice denied. I'm going to keep doing all these until the cases are solved. Welcome, Pinto Sack. So, yeah, I mean, there's just so many questions here. So, continuing this post from Wallaby. So, this Ben guy's neighbor, or former neighbor, is listed as C. Aldrich. His son supposedly owns this Christmas tree farm near the Weathered Barn corner. What does everybody make of that? I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, do we have any more room for coincidences here? I mean, how many more coincidences could there be, and this is all seemingly unrelated to anything? It's so tough. I mean, this is truly one of a kind case. And this is definitely a one of a kind case. Oh man. Okay, hold on a second. Let me keep going through this here. Because the amount to dissect here, I mean, this is so crazy. Alright, hold on. Let's go to... Because I went over some of the early rumors in this case, because in a lot of true crime cases, I mean, coincidence theorists will hallucinate that this isn't true, but a lot of early rumors turn out to be true. Now, obviously not all of them, but to just immediately discount any and all early rumors as, oh, they're just local rumors. Well, most of the time, at least one of them turns out to be true. So, this C. Aldrich, which we went over, let's look at what... Let's look at this news article. I went over these in the previous live Q&As. So, New York man charged in check case. Claremont, New York City man who allegedly said he passed millions in bad checks now faces, or in 3 states, faces federal charges in New Hampshire. Christopher Aldrich, 49, was arrested at a Walmart store in Claremont in October, allegedly buying computers with bad checks. Millions of dollars of bad checks. But only a little more than 21,000 in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Connecticut, so mostly New York. So investigators say Aldrich had close to 200 known aliases, criminal connections in 10 states, and arrest warrants pending. So this is supposedly, or a man with a similar name, is this guy's neighbor, and this guy's son owns this Christmas tree farm next to the scene of the staged accident. Pinto Sack says, these cold cases always seem to have bizarre characters. Butch Atwood, Westmans, why can't they just be normal people? Perhaps, I mean, again, is this all by design? Clark Rice says, with all the scrutiny on this case, we have basically no forensics, no body, no trace, no body, no crime, thoughts. Well, actually, we're going to get to one of those aspects in a second. Adam says, I remember something Ken M. said on the case where he believed multiple locals were involved with her assault and videotaping of it as a party. How tight-knit were these locals with the local law enforcement? Wow, that's dark. I don't think I heard that one specifically, although early on, was it Cold? What was his name? Was it Cold? I forgot the guy's name. One of the so-called followers of the case. There was an episode with the missing Maura Murray, with Tim and Lance. They did with a guy who went by the moniker Cold, and then they ended up removing his episode. Was he the first one that postulated the communal slaying theory, which is obviously one of the darkest? Pinto Sack says, yes, Bruce explained why she was calling Domino's all the time late at night. We went over that before. Apparently, there might have been a guy who was a mechanic at Domino's, and it might have involved some kind of drug running. Obviously, her dorm building was one of the largest sting ops and drug busts in UMass history. Adam is in the chat, says, he said Forcier was there as well. It may have been. I have no idea how he got this info. So, I did hear the theory about the communal slaying where she might have died by accident at a party. I did not hear anything about it being filmed. I mean, that's as dark as you can get. But again, I mean, there were pornographers there at that time, for those that don't know. At the Nootka Lodge, Also, the barge inn, there were supposedly some dancers. I mean, there's a lot of shady stuff. And of course, in the town minutes from the town meeting, this is some kind of human... This little hamlet in the middle of nowhere has a human trafficking problem. I mean, there's just so much... I mean, this really is... You can't make this stuff up. Just the amount of oddities in this case... I mean, it's just absolutely staggering. I mean, look at this. This is the Grafton County This is for the coincidence theorists who think I just made that up. The Grafton County Commissioners meeting, July 9th, 2013, Human Trafficking Initiative. As difficult as it is to imagine, human trafficking does occur in New Hampshire and Grafton County. We are continuing to work with the Enforcement Committee to develop protocols for all members of law enforcement. We hope they will be available this fall. Attorney Sappho gave out a handout to the commissioners that discusses the contract between Grafton County and Northern Human Services, White Mountain Mental Health for Mental Health Court, and here's the URL for the coincidence theorists. And there was also, was there another one? For some reason, I think this was the second one in 2013. It's a shame John Smith isn't in the chat right now. Or Adam, do you know, was there another reference to human trafficking specifically in Haverhill? Because for some reason, I think this is the second time it was addressed in government documentation, not the first. But I don't remember the first one. This is just the one I have on hand. Pinto Sack says, so if foul play happened, who drove the car and staged the scene? I have no idea. We have a few individuals here, supposedly, who look exactly like Maura Murray. Adam says, reminds me of an X-Files episode with the town cult. I mean, that would explain some of the locals' behavior, wouldn't they? Even if they weren't involved, if they somehow, not even that they know that it happened, but if they suspect, if they know their neighbors are that shady and dangerous that they would never blow the whistle on them, that would cause them to act strange, even if they didn't know for sure. They don't know. They just, if they think it's a possibility and they're that scared of their neighbors. I mean, yeah, it's pretty tough. Clark Rice says, Bruce, have you watched the car repair videos of the Domino's mechanic? He has got to be a POI. I believe he was thoroughly investigated. I don't know if anything happened with that. Talo Biz, welcome. Good to catch you live. I've been catching up on all your re-uploads. Yeah, but Adam, yeah, that's a really dark theory. Yes, Adam says, yes, I've seen another one on the local trafficking as well and posted an old Woodsville forum. People seemed aware of it. Yeah, I don't think that was just the most recent mention. I think there was a much older one around 2004 as well. Okay, so clearly it's been an ongoing problem in that area. And of course, Jill Zane Maxwell, of all people, was holed up there at the time of her arrest in New Hampshire. Not exactly there. She was, what, about an hour, somewhere over an hour south in New Hampshire. She had some kind of place in New Hampshire. The queen of human trafficking herself. So yeah, New Hampshire, man, the live free or die state sure has some darkness in it. And again, that doesn't mean statistically it's not one of the safest states. I actually think it is. Yeah, as shady and dark as all this stuff is, it might still be safer than most other states. So again, that's not a knock specifically against New Hampshire. It might be safer. I think Maine is the safest. But I think New Hampshire and Vermont are up there as among the safest. So just because all this dark, shady stuff happens, that doesn't mean it's not safer than other places. Okay, so what's also interesting, Aldrich himself supposedly, he worked for a logging company, so would he have access to a wood chipper, which we'll get into in a second. He also drove a 97 Ford F-150. Was it red? I don't see a reference to it being red. But he did drive a truck. So, let's go to this rumor here. Actually, give me one more second. I'm going to bring up... Okay, hold on a second. Huh. Someone else on the Mormuri sub postulated. So the original, a lot of the original reports were saying that the damage to the hood is from a tow hitch. Someone just postulated a new theory that I haven't seen anywhere, which is quite interesting. So, on the Mormuri sub, they postulated that this damage, maybe it's not from a tow hitch, perhaps it's from a truck with the back gate down. If the back gate was down, is that low enough to cause this damage? Because the only thing that really it seems to be apparent is that it did not hit a tree, as the official narrative and all the Dunning-Kruger goofs hallucinate with religious fervor that it had to have been a tree. I mean, that's practically the only thing that can be ruled out here, is that it was a tree. But, so if it wasn't a tow hitch, was it some kind of pickup with the gate down? This is the first time I've heard this theory. But perhaps so. Huh. So this is free resolve on the Mormuri sub. When I was overseas, I left the truck tailgate down, backed into a smaller car at accident. Seeing Maura's car instantly made me think that's from impacting the back of a truck with the tailgate down. Damages look similar. Did some digging in reference to the white paint transfer on the Saturn's rear end and the white transfer on the lower undamaged part of the front bumper. Could this have been consistent with a 97 to 2000 white Dodge Dakota with a Chrysler passenger side view mirror? The shape looks consistent but hard to tell. Did a white Dodge come up behind her with their tailgate down, swiping the rear, causing her to overcorrect on the turn, breaking a side view mirror in the process, then stopped entirely when impacting the back of the truck, trying to cut her off from getting to the correct side of the road? The paint transfer on the bottom front bumper could have been from the tailgate partially lifting on impact, causing the odd 90-degree intention on the hood penetrating the front headlights and grille. The taillight didn't leave paint transfer because most Dakota truck beds were equipped with the plastic black line covering the lip of the truck bed as well. Swipe was the initial black box detection, impact of the truck tailgate was the second. And just again, to reiterate this, for some reason, a lot of people just don't have the mental capacity to understand that according to all the documentation and the mechanics that have spoken about it, the Saturn black box does not re-record. So there's no way to tell when any of the events on the black box recording occurred, because it has to be reset to record new events. So everything recorded could have been from potentially the Vassy hit and run, could have been potentially from any other situation prior. So there's no definitive proof it happened on whatever's going on in this situation on February 9th. So continuing the post here, well, if you think I'm crazy by now, could be something, could be nothing. Why is there a white truck seemingly backed into the tree line out of sight from foot traffic driving up their driveway? It wasn't there in aerial footages post-crime, but now it is. Then to have it backed into the trees. So they posted some screenshots here nearby. I don't see, it doesn't look like the truck is being hidden to me. It's in a driveway, so I don't know. I'm not going to post it because he's got... Okay, continuing here. The damage would be on the rear end, and usually if storing a vehicle, you wouldn't want the hood main part body to be hidden from the sun weather condition. I'm staring directly. Okay, so they mentioned some names here. There are the B brothers. I don't know if he's referring to the house that was searched. The basement that was searched, but apparently not searched well. Not searched where the dogs hid, but there was also... Apparently there's some kind of connection between other locals here. Alright, I'm not going to say their names. One of the aliases Houdini, which is interesting. Okay, so no, this was not the property that was searched. This was the property in front of the property that was searched. So directly next to the property that was searched. So this actual property is not searched. That's very curious. Yeah, I haven't seen... I didn't see this rumor either. So Sky Weeks, who was associated with Claude Moulton, who died recently, apparently there was a rumor that Sky Weeks was associated with Cecil Smith. That's weird. Apparently Cecil Smith used to give drunk women rides, and who knows what else. Those are the local rumors. Again, I do not claim anything is true or untrue. This is Mindshock, where the motto is, the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. There's another curiosity here being discussed online. Patriot Ledger, February 14th, 2004. The article, New Hampshire police end the search for woman, Hanson student, 21, has fled the scene of car crash, no sign of foul play, by Joe McGee. I don't know if we went over this particular article. We went over so many. So, in this article... Give me 1 second. So the quote from this article, Chief Jeff Williams of the Haverhill Police Department, police know where Maura was before the accident but declined to comment. Quote from Williams, we know where she was and what she was doing, but that's all I'll say. I don't remember that. I don't know if I remember this article. That's a weird thing to say from the police chief. That's pretty weird. That's quite weird. Of course, a lot of people actually think Williams was responsible for something. I'm gonna get to the chat in a second. Just double checking something else here. And I mean, there's so much to keep track of, but apparently one of the other Aldridges, Virgil, I don't know if we went over this specifically. Supposedly, this other Aldridge, this is a truck on his property, possibly his truck. And there was, again, a rumor of a sighting with Virgil Aldrich, one of the men in a red truck that was seen with a girl resembling Maura in his truck. And they were supposedly stopping red trucks all night. That was an early, that was posted early on. For whatever reason, I guess they were taking that sighting seriously, if that's true. I mean, there's just so many, there's so many shady people in that area. Does this place have more shady people than any other case? I mean, we literally have dozens and dozens of POIs here. Dozens. Now, what's curious also, from a few years ago, some online sleuths actually found a former company. It's no longer exists, but it was Aldrich, Forcier, and Associates. Now, I'm sure that's all coincidental, then the name was changed, but yeah, that's curious. That's curious. What else hasn't really been discussed? If everybody knew about the shady dealings of local PD, whether it was Cecil, again, I'm not alleging anything is true or untrue, whether it was Cecil, Williams, or other officers, is it possible they couldn't go after some of these other locals because they knew the locals would blow the whistle on them, so they couldn't really go after them? Or were they both? Were they also involved in some kind of drug operations or other operations, shady operations? They were all involved together, so they couldn't really go after these people, whether they knew for sure whether they did something to Maura or not, or maybe they suspected, but they couldn't really do honest investigation because they were compromised themselves. Pinto Sack says, I agree with you, Bruce. I think early rumors often hold a lot of weight. We're about to get to a doozy of a rumor in a second. So Clark Rice says, multiple independent experts have definitively determined that the accident scene was staged. Therefore, I feel that speculation of a tow hitch tailgate down seems to be largely moot. So I'm not sure about that. Have you listened to every episode, Clark? Because there was an earlier accident at around 7 p.m. before the entire timeline was changed. Perhaps it's possible it wasn't being towed at that time. Or, even if it's staged, that doesn't mean it was being towed. So, yeah, I don't think any speculation is moot at this point, because we don't know what happened. So, there could have been let's say, whether it was being towed or not, there could have been, let's say the vehicle was taken to be staged, either dumped in the forest or at Loon Mountain parking lot. It's being taken somewhere to be dumped, and a real accident occurs, and then they stage it because they can no longer, like if it goes off the hitch or whatever, they don't want to be compromised, they know the cops are on their way or whatever, or they're just worried neighbors are going to come out, so they end up staging it at that point. So it doesn't necessarily mean that was the goal, was to stage it there. The goal may have been to dump it elsewhere. I went over that on some of the other episodes as well. Pinto Sack says, also people like Sarah A., I'm sorry whether you like it or not, you're involved in a high-profile case, why go silent? She gives one small interview to a magazine and then runs away forever. I mean, who knows? Obviously, that doesn't necessarily implicate her in guilt in any way, but, I mean, I don't know. Adam says, oh wow, the Houdini guy was a world-famous escape artist, not even kidding, he lived on Lime Kiln. Wait, he was actually an escape artist, so that wasn't just a moniker for fun? That's interesting. Clark says, could we do a brief overview of what we know of Maura's finances? She had lost her free ride from West Point, was working multiple jobs, probably fired from UMass police, drained bank account. Do we know that those were her actions, though? Was someone making her withdraw the money? We don't know. There was another vehicle in that ATM footage which may or may not be doctored. They could have possibly compelled her to remove the money. We don't know. Walking in 4K says, and Fred was magically scraping out all this cash from multiple ATMs in a hurry. Suspect in my opinion. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Pinto Sack says, wasn't Fred basically bankrupt at that time? Okay, well, bankruptcy doesn't really mean a lot. Like, a lot of rich people declare bankruptcy. That doesn't mean they don't have a lot of cash on hand. That just means they don't want to pay certain debts. But so we really don't know their exact financial situation. I mean, I think he had a high-paying job, though. He worked in some... Did he work at a hospital as some kind of tech or something? I think he had a high-paying job, but I'm assuming he had a lot of expenses, a lot of kids, etc. Clark says Fred brought a couple grand to her that he had to scrape together for, in quotations, a new car that was never purchased. Maura was broke, financially dependent on Rausch family. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Pinosack says, yeah, Fred's lying. They were not trying to buy a car. Yeah, we have no idea what's going on there. Someone using her cell phone did call salvage repair shops / used car dealerships, though. So, yeah. Adam says, I've seen most of the New Hampshire and Vermont forums back in '04, and there was something wrong with Woodsville. This place had so much drama and dark stuff being posted by locals. Yeah, a lot of issues here. Let's go to... Wow, I'm not sure I ever saw this one. I might not have seen this post. We're going to go over a bunch of deleted posts from topics. I'm actually not sure I've seen this one before. Check this one out. This is crazy, from Oh My Coincidence. So, okay, they're talking about the snowbank, etc. So, Oh My posts, they say Claude pushed her off the road or pitted Maura up to as many as 8 times before the drug they gave her kicked in. Then her car came to rest at the site in a snowbank, but not stuck in the snow. So if she was the driver of the vehicle and she was drugged, you know, this is very ominous. Is it possible she went to a party, she didn't like the vibe, she left, but they had drugged her, so she couldn't drive properly? Then she gets bumped off the road by a car and they put her in the car? And if the cops are involved in this, I mean, that's pretty dark. That's pretty dark stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure I saw that post before. So, here's another post. I'm not sure I've seen this one either. These might all be ones that we have not yet gone over, from Oh My Coincidence or Oh My / Oh My Coincidence again. Quijo wrote, oh my, when I read your last post, it makes sense that Maura was very vulnerable and her not functioning well, possibly, and of course her car was crapped out. So the people you say took her had the right situation for that, for sure. Do you think that they really tampered with her car, ragging the tailpipe, or drugged her somehow? Don't know. If she had time to stop at a bar, since it seems there was this tight timeline for her trip there, where do you really think they drugged her? Well, that's another theory, too. There were rumors that she was sighted at the Barge Inn, right? I don't know if those were ever substantiated in any way. Thanks for the super chat, Pinto Sack. So, Oh My says, well, Maura bought enough liquor to make mudslides for a number of people on her way up here from what I have been told. If Maura went to the Chalet Schaffer, which burned down in '04, or the Barge Inn to meet friends, I was told something went wrong, very, very wrong, and Maura was with the wrong people. I believe everyone knows who that is, right? Well, the killer then did what I said he did so his daughter wouldn't get in trouble or whatever the problem was with these people and Maura. I refuse to say why in this forum, but that was the beginning of the end and Maura knew it, I am sure. And in the meantime, a couple of people were called in to keep the problem from escalating. Maura was the problem at this point. Everybody knows who the bad man is if you live in Haverhill. I am told he wears a mob ring and his name is Gary. I am told Gary's fools, they call them up in that town. The daughter, I am told, is a big coke dealer and the same as her mom and dad and her siblings. Her name is Cheryl, and some people up there are actually scared of these creeps or fools. Well, after that phone call was made, then Gary's right-hand man, Claude, came up with a woman to assist getting rid of Maura, the problem for the fools, as Maura might have seen something that could have hurt the coke business, or maybe she witnessed a murder or some expletive. So Claude was ordered to get rid of her permanently, and I will say this is my opinion for the people who come in here and tell me often are the murderers, in my opinion, or know them and are trying to protect them. If you add 1 and 1, you get about 39 people in Haverhill, okie dokie. Now, Gary is trying to sell everything he has right now to get out of town and the police's eye, okay? Then you have the mother who is used to living with nose candy and high gear with straw glued in her nose. And everyone in town knows all the deal here, but not many know which person is carrying the loads of drugs, narcotics, coke, etc. Just stop at Gary's and get some, or get a load of the expletive, or ask Cheryl or about 39 others in town. And everyone in town, I am told, is sick of these fools and have given lots of messages back to them to stop it. Enough for now. Like I say, this is an opinion of mine, okay, not a fact, okay. It's ominous stuff there. So I don't know if he's referring to Gary's Fuels. So there was the gas station there. Then he refers to Mitch, which we did go over. And then there's also another, I'll go over one more post here. I'm not sure we went over this one either in the previous episodes. Well, again, this is from Oh My. I know Maura and her family vacationed up here and possibly meet people in the Haverhill area over the years while climbing mountains with her dad, Fred, and family. Number 1, I was told Maura knew a girl on Kiln Road. 2, I was told Maura knew someone in Mountain Lakes also. 3, I was told there was a home in Mountain Lakes that either the Murray family own or have rented before. You know, that's curious, because that's been a rumor from the beginning. This was posted June 11, 2008. Huh. Because I do remember an earlier rumor that someone in the... But Murray is such a common name. I don't know if it was specifically linked to them. Number 4, I was told that Maura knew some people near the site, but I won't say who. 5, I wonder if Maura might have owed a favor or some money to these people for some reason. 6, I believe Maura got up to Haverhill and the people became very upset with Maura. And things got out of hand when she got up to the Haverhill area when she tried to fix what was wrong. I wonder if this is related to the Thursday night breakdown as well. 7. So Maura left Amherst to come directly to Haverhill to make a deal with someone to make things better so as to not keep these people mad at her. She was the type of person who was a caring and loving person who wanted to settle whatever was wrong and came to Haverhill because that was what was asked of her. So that's why she had to be in the Haverhill area. 8, when Maura got up to Haverhill, she found herself in a mess because she either didn't have the amount of money to keep these people's mouths shut about something, maybe she was being blackmailed by these idiots and the amount of money she was paying them was not enough anymore, and they wanted more, and they were mad when she couldn't bring enough of what they were looking for, so the blackmailers went off on her, hurting her, and she tried to run, but they had sabotaged her car with the rag and the tailpipe so she couldn't get away from them. See, I wonder if how much Fred knows, and if this is possibly connected with Kathleen and Tim Carpenter, and that's why Fred said that he told her to put the rag in the tailpipe, because he's covering something up that has to do with something else? I don't know. Number 9, Maura knew when she left Amherst that she might not make it home, and was in some type of trouble, and if she told her dad, she knew that she would be judged if anyone knew that she had made a mistake in her life. She told no one in her family as she felt she could take care of their problem in her life, but had no idea how bad these people were going to react to her not having what the crooks wanted. When she got up in the Haverhill area, she tried to resolve the problem. 10, Maura then ran away, possibly hurt already from these bad people, and they were in hot pursuit and rammed her little car off the road time after time until either the drugs that were slipped into her drink kicked in, or they cornered her at the site, where they took her and left another woman of her stature to deal with locals. If here were any questions while they tried to get a flatbed there to remove the Saturn, but people started asking questions, so the crooks abandoned the Saturn, picked the other woman up, and they were forced into killing Maura because she knew too much, or would have put him in jail if Maura had gone to the police, and if Maura was hurt, she might have been ready to do just that. So these are the early rumors even before '08. I remember these rumors right at the beginning of the case. Supposedly on the family's website, the original Maura Murray family's website. That was one of the original rumors. I mean, there was quite a bunch of rumors regarding Kathleen and Tim Carpenter as well. Carpenter's name comes up in connection with that area as well. Again, that's not the most rarest name, so who knows if it's exactly connected. Local yokel from Littleton, New Hampshire said this: ponder this. I have a strong feeling that her sister Kathleen and her hubby Tim know a lot more than they're saying. I was at the search at Mountain Lakes and they were acting very odd. I am not saying they had anything to do with her disappearance, but know why she left. Just my opinion. Alright, so, I mean, we still got more. We got a lot more here to go over. Clark Rice says, my parents went through bankruptcy during college. It caused huge life disruption. Financially, Maura Murray was pretty close to desperate. Pinto Sack asked, do you guys think Julie was fooling around with Bill at West Point? I mean, those were some rumors. Clark Rice says, yes, definitely. There's a West Point group they were involved with. Pinto Sack says, think Bruce disagrees, but I think Maura and their entire family were deeply disturbed. What do you mean by disturbed? I think most of them were pretty well adjusted, except for Maura, right? Well, and Kathleen, but Kathleen, I think we went over in this earlier episode, she was kind of the black sheep of the family, but apparently she was a happy, good kid too, until her boyfriend died. I believe that was the case early in life. So that wasn't her fault, and of course that's going to traumatize someone, so they might have some issues in life. Then parents divorcing, etc. Clark Rice says, I agree, Pinto Sack. It is extremely odd for two siblings to both get USMA nominations. Here's the thing, though, and Clark Rice would probably know this better than anybody. Those can't be the only two sisters or the only two brothers, the only two siblings that have attended West Point at approximately the same time. Adam says Gary was the owner of Gary's Fuels, and another local confirmed to me about a week ago that Claude was indeed the right-hand man of Gary. However, Oh My needs to be looked at. I found out recently that Oh My was posting under different monikers as early as 2006 under multiple local forums ranging from Vermont to New Hampshire. He was literally everywhere and knew so much. Why? So, Adam in the chat, do you think it's a guilty conscience and he was trying to get off his chest? Or is this also a druggie and he's kind of posting under the influence, so he's giving away maybe even more than he wants to give away? I mean, I don't know. Got a couple more things to go over here. We got some brain-dead goofs talking about Mindshock on the official Maura Murray subreddit. Check out this this poster here, Responder343. Take everything Mindshock, aka Bruce McKay, says with a grain of salt. Not only does he constantly contradict himself in his videos, but he gets very abrasive with people who don't agree with him. And look at the level of mental deficiency. So one, I mean, if you're even on a preschool English level, you know that I am not claiming anything is true or untrue, so what is there to disagree with? I mean, just the level of mental disability of some of these goofs here. You don't see this in other cases. I go over many different theories. I do not claim any of them are true or untrue, so how could I be contradicting something I'm not claiming is true? I mean, that's the level of deficiency you're dealing with posters on this case. But this responder goof says he goes against known evidence. What known evidence? I mean, what evidence is actually factually substantiated? To spin his narrative. Which narrative am I spinning? I don't claim any of them are true or untrue. I just go over all of them. And will call you part of the Dunning-Kruger crowd or a coincidence theorist when you don't submit to his narrative. Which narrative? I don't claim any narrative is true or untrue. And yes, I will call quacking, waddling ducks ducks. If you're quacking and waddling and proving your deficiency like Responder343 just did here on the Maura Murray sub, I mean, this was just a few hours ago, then obviously I'm going to call a duck a duck. I call a spade a spade. Obviously, a lot of goofs will get triggered. Someone just posted here, Cassandra of Roses posted about West Point, about Clark Rice's sighting here. And obviously all the triggered troll goofs and obfuscators immediately hallucinate that it could not have been her. In their Dunning-Kruger fashion, of course. They actually think it might have been Julie. So Clark Rice, why don't you answer here in the chat? Did you mistake Julie for Maura? Like some of these goofs are speaking for you on the official sham subreddit, Maura Murray subreddit. Pinto Sack says, Bruce, you do the most objective and non-biased deep dives on the internet. Yes, I believe I do. That's because we don't fall for logical fallacies here. And of course, I am not claiming anything is true or untrue. Is that really that difficult to understand? I mean, that's basic English. That's the entire motto of the podcast. And yet, so many goofs. I don't know if they're playing stupid or these are legitimate mental disabilities. I don't know. Hello, Joe Neal. I can see you. Adam in the chat saying, considering Oh My's online presence in those days and how he was all over early social media, he almost posts as if he does regret what happened to Maura, but who knows. Clark Rice says, the question, though, Bruce, is why the sisters were both nominated. I would say that it is very, very rare, usually for high-achieving athletes. USMA does not like to have siblings. It has a look of bias. So, Clark, some of these goofs are saying you mistook Julie for Maura. Is that possible, Clark Rice? Or are you quite familiar with how both of them look? And you said she was with kids, right? So, as far as I know, Julie Murray does not have kids, does she? Yeah, Joe Neal, we do live Q&As quite often. This is the fourth one in the Maura Murray case. Some of them are just non-true crime open Q&As. You can bring up anything you want. So yeah, while Clark is looking for that, Clark's going to answer the question, hopefully, about these people saying that he mistook Julie for Maura. Yeah, I was kind of looking for, I saw something, I don't remember on which sub, about a wood chipper, but let me get to, okay, I guess it wasn't on there unless it was removed. I mean, the so-called official Maura Murray subreddit, r Maura Murray, is the biggest sham subreddit on Reddit. The actual Maura Murray sub, r/Maura Murray sub, I think there are one or two good moderators there, but most of them are not. So it's pretty shammy as well. A lot of trash posters there, shutting down logic and reason and getting triggered when their deficiencies are pointed out, just like this poster we just went over. So, okay, we have a couple more things to go over. Alright, let me bring this up first. So this is... So again, I'm not sure what's being referred to here. This is from 07. I have, again, topics deleted, deleted posts here. I've heard stories of a very creepy family that lives near the place of the accident. Their land has been referred to as the compound. So is this the Christmas tree farm? Or is this the other house next to the house that was searched? With these people with alleged connection to drug dealers, etc. And possibly a connection to Sky Weeks or Jessica C. Oh my also said, this is some of the poorest police work I have ever heard of. After I read the article about Maura Murray, my heart goes out to all the victims' families that have lost loved ones due to the poor handling of evidence or lack of even trying by the police. As a community, we need to watch out for one another. It seems because there have been a lot of unsolved or mishandled cases in this area, both New Hampshire and Vermont. I just hope that everyone doesn't forget that there are many cases that are unsolved in and around these communities. Is it a crying shame that these cases aren't being... It is a crying shame that these cases aren't being solved. Do we have a bunch of weirdos or gangs in this area? You mentioned a compound. Well, I have never heard of one, but maybe there is. All I can say is keep track of your loved ones. I guess that's all we can do, other than stick together as a group and form our own community watch program. I feel bad that the police we hire and train can't do their job at the standards we expect. I really believe that most people in this area are good at heart. Oh, by the way, Floyd does live really close to where the Maura girl disappeared. The Murray girl. It's almost as if he's this kind of reads to me as a sober post from Oh My. As if he's, for whatever reason, obsessed with the case, can't stop posting about it, and he's possibly sober here. And he's trying to create distance by not saying her first name. The Murray girl disappeared. Who knows? I am no undertrained policeman. I wish I had an answer to stop the violence, as it was really out of hand from '01 to '05 around here. Although I believe there may be more to come. I hope not. It's time to lock your doors and have the shotgun by the door like the old days. What a shame. Wow. This definitely reads like someone who knows a lot and is intentionally not saying it. Just comparing to the Oh My's other posts. And that's also assuming this is all the same poster with this name, but who knows, maybe it's not. Let's go over a few more here. Some of these other posts from Oh My definitely seem like he's unhinged or under the influence. Smith wasn't at the scene to measure footprints or how many people might have been there and the different tracks left, or was he there to track Maura in the snow? Smith was there to retrieve the car, but because by law there has to be a police report filed. It snows more up by there than almost anywhere in New Hampshire because of the altitude, and that's why Mountain Lakes had a ski area 1 mile from the site. Maura wouldn't walk in the middle of the road anyway for fear of being hit by an auto. Smith didn't waste time looking for tracks that would keep him away from the barge inn in Woodsville, where he gives rides to drunk women in their home when they're drunk enough to keep him happy. I am disgusted. Again, I mean, there's just so much here. So, different posters here. Complaining about the police department. Haverhill girl posted 08 HPD a joke. Officer Trot is a disgrace who bullies locals to feel powerful. So it seems like a lot of the locals are just not happy with the po-po. With just the caliber of po-po in the area. Few more posts here. 09. This is not Williams' first time being accused of DWI. In fact, he was drinking the day he slammed into the truck on his motorcycle in April when his farce met the rear end of the truck he hit. Or is that supposed to be face? The story is they want to drop the other 3 DUIs, as he has been through having the bike. The truth is, Williams and other police in the area have been out of control for some time now, and it is about time the little gangsters are written up properly now before some innocent people get hurt seriously. There are a few police sheriffs that need to go, just like the one of the previous Haverhill chief, George, went. He was out of control, threatening people and dealing drugs, cocaine, from the safety of his patrol car. The town needs less corrupt officials for sure. What am I? So wait a second. Is the police chief before Williams? Local rumors are he's dealing drugs directly from his car? By the way, it was Williams' fault hitting that truck. You are to be in control of your vehicle at all times. Also, Williams hit the truck behind the passenger fender. This cop is an idiot. The problem is that it's a brotherhood and they protect and serve themselves. It is where you or me would be processed to the full extent of the law, right? Also, Glenn English, the town manager, cannot sit there and say this is the first he heard of the bike accident, as that is a small town and you can't squeeze off a fart without the whole town knowing, for Christ's sake. That's an interesting statement. So he's saying the locals know everything that's going on there in that small town. So he's saying everyone in town knows everything about everything. That's interesting. More angry posts from Oh My. Williams, you're a dirty tool and will always will be. I hope you hurt for the rest of your life, you dirty ex-pig. How does it feel, William? I'm not going to read most of this. You can read it. Some expletives here. This guy's not happy. Oh My is not happy with Williams. Said he should be doing jail time. Adam says, sorry, Bruce, I meant that from the previous statement. Did Oh My possibly get Maura to drive up there for a reason through MySpace, AIM, or some connection and end up getting her into something shady? Like, unbeknownst to him? Like, he was the one that drew her up there. For some reason, I'm leaning towards a female got her up there, but I'm not sure. Either Jessica C or some kind of common friend group. I don't know, for whatever reason... I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, would she allow a male to lure her up there? I mean, maybe, but for whatever reason, I mean, I don't know. But Adam is saying if he got her to go up there, so he got her into something shady, possibly he didn't know that it was going to end up being shady, and that's why he has such a guilty conscience? Perhaps. Clark Rice says, I stand by the official report I submitted to law enforcement. I'd encourage others to do the same if they have actionable info. Yes, 2 kids were with her. Okay. And Clark Rice says he knows the difference between Julie and Maura. But hey, maybe random goofs on the internet hallucinating to know better than the guy himself who claimed the sighting. That's always funny. Adam says, and here Oh My stops using all the exclamation points and sounds like a totally different person. Yeah, Adam, whether it's him or not, it could be the difference between posting under the influence and not posting under the influence. Clark Rice says, I guess I would say goofs should perhaps contact the New Hampshire State Patrol if they have a sighting. The authorities took my report very seriously and possibly issued the VICAP update because of it. And Clark, can you say what your position was at West Point again, if you did, or if you're allowed to? Clark Rice says, the West Point group includes students and faculty. Pinto Sack, Clark Rice went over the sighting on the previous live Q&As. So it seems like if at least some of those rumors are true, if the local police department is involved in shady drug dealing situations, yeah, that's alright, so here's the one I was looking for before. So okay, this was posted on a public forum, but perhaps I should redact that, because I don't think any of these individuals were actually publicly named yet, although if they have criminal records, that's all public info. I don't know if, I think I actually did go over this post before. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I did or not. The arrest list is as follows from top to bottom. Gary, his wife. I don't know. So Cheryl's not his wife. So I don't. Is that his wife? Gary? Yeah, it's unclear whether he's saying Gary and his wife, and then also this other person, Cheryl, from the Bargain, and her better half, Claude Moulton. So these are all. Is it 4 different people? Teresa Little Pete Mitchell, who we will call Mitch the Biatch, that has the greenhouses and the abandoned veggie stand on Route 25, Red the Hell's Angel who chipped Maura's body up, a buddy of Mitch, Daniel of Jetstar. So here we have the Jetstar auto rumors again, and all employees, Joe Lee, and whoever burned down the Chalet Schaffer. All the police in Haverhill, New Hampshire for withholding evidence, a couple of Troop F patrolmen, that's a good start, but there are more. And they all now know who killed Maura, and they are all hiding out. You will never see them out in public, and they are harboring and protecting each other in a huge conspiracy to commit murder, and have done so before. Mitch has been killing people for years and molesting little girls in Haverhill. It is time to find the bones and teeth that Mitch has been throwing off the train car from here to Florida. Very, very ominous post here. Okay. I mean, there's even more here. So apparently, this was posted, we discussed this before as well. A friend of Kathleen Murray's has reportedly given a statement to New Hampshire Cold Case Unit about how she believes Tim Carpenter is responsible for what happened to Maura Murray in 2004. The story goes like this. Kathleen met Maura on Monday, and Maura was driving her to a rehab facility in New Hampshire, but Tim Carpenter followed them to 112, where he raced ahead of them, braked, causing Maura's car to smash into the back of his truck. Then he put Maura in the trunk of the Saturn while Kathleen drove further, only to get into the accident by the Weathern barn. Following the accident, Maura and Kathleen were put in the truck. Maura's body is said to have ended up at a landfill in Massachusetts. Now, here's where it's going to get really crazy. So, was this kind of made up? Was this particular story made up to divert attention away from all of this? So, Wallaby posted this as well. Can someone elaborate on... So, AH is supposedly oh my? Did I get that correct? I don't know if AH is oh my. I think John Smith said he was, but I'm not sure if that was ever 100% verified. So, and the party barn, and where is it? The place was mentioned with the Jessica C. Maura party rumors. Was stunned to find out this guy's family to the owner of the Christmas tree farm, right at the scene of the Saturn. So Ben H., the owner of the... So supposedly Ben H. Jr. is the owner. Ben H. Sr. is the guy with the criminal record. Are they both Ben H.? I don't know. So, Ben H. Jr., owner of the Christmas tree farm near the scene of Maura's Saturn, seems like a good guy. Whoever was leaving his farm comes directly around the weather barn corner, has a wide open view of the accident scene. It's not implausible to think someone working there at the time or visiting may have been getting off work around the time Maura was at the Saturn. So, Ben H. Sr. was arrested mid to late 2004 for assaulting a female minor, appears to be the father of above. Not sure if he ever owned the farm or worked there. From Manchester, New Hampshire, would have possibly been in the area early 2004. So this is the mugshot here. So AH, possibly the same guy as Oh My, family to the above guys, and hosted parties at the reputed party barn, which supposedly was a place where meth was made. This barn was a place that was also mentioned in regards to Jessica C. and C. Aldrich. Can't remember why. They were also mentioned as having been at another party at River Road where something bad supposedly happened to Maura, and everyone was told to keep quiet about it. Wow. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So, were there one or more parties? Yeah, I just wonder, why would there be all of these local rumors with this level of specificity? Like, sure, died at a party. I mean, that's nothing. But this is quite a lot of specificity with named officials, etc., or named like people naming individuals. There's also something here. I mean, there's quite a lot of new info here. Wallaby also posted that supposedly, I don't know if this is from Gary's Fuels, but there was gas station surveillance footage. Yeah, I don't know. This has not been verified. So perhaps that's, I mean, so there were individuals, there were officers supposedly trying to get footage from nearby areas. I wonder, see, if they had gotten the footage, would they reveal it if they were covering something up? I'm still trying to... There's a couple more things here. There was some kind of a connection made... There was some kind of a connection made between... I'm trying to find something here. Okay. There was some kind of a connection to Tim Carpenter. There's so much to keep track of here. I'm trying to find... Alright, let's go with this. So apparently there was a murder in 08 in connection to Kiln Road. So let's go over this. So this is 08. Man charged with conspiracy to commit murder, Haverhill, New Hampshire. Fourth person has been arrested in connection with the death of a Vermont man in North Haverhill. I mean, there's just a lot of weird stuff going down in this little hamlet in the middle of nowhere. Police said Michael Roby, 18, of Kiln Road, North Haverhill, was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Christopher Gray, 25, of Groton, Vermont. Gray's body was found on this property on Kiln Road October 9th. 3 people were previously charged in connection with the case. Timothy Smith, 23, was charged with second-degree murder. Anthony Howe, 18, was charged with hindering apprehension of prosecution. And Amber Talbot, 17, was charged with conspiracy to commit murder. So I guess she was officially charged because they released the name of a minor here. This is from a newspaper. Police said all 4 of the people arrested lived at the Kiln Road addresses. An autopsy showed that Gray died of multiple stab wounds. Investigators have not released a suspected motive for the killing. So you have here teenagers in a conspiracy plot. I wonder if this was also some kind of a drug party How long have drug parties been going on in Lime Kiln Road? Because by '08, I mean, I don't know about Tim Smith, so he would have been... So this is... So in '08, so he would have been around 19, but the others would have been too young, probably. I mean, hopefully 14 and under were not involved in any of this stuff. But who knows who these people are friends with. But this Lime Kiln Road activity is weird. Because even back in '04 here, I mean, Lime Kiln Road, apparently there was quite a few searches. We actually went over this in the previous Q&As. So 9:27 p.m., Sergeant Smith was dispatched to another call on Lime Kiln Road, North Haverhill, suicidal teenager in danger of electrocuting himself. The night wore on, but temperatures did not dip. I wonder if this is also related to the footprints by power lines. Huh. So what's up with these teenagers on Lime Kiln Road, and did Oh My know these teenagers? So there's I mean, we're about to go even further back in time in a moment. I just wanted to cover all of this first. I mean, there's just so much weird stuff going on here. I mean, I don't know how to make heads or tails of any of this. It just seems so weird. It just so... And let's not forget the Stefano connection. I mean, we went over that in the previous episodes. Oh, Stefano was supposedly connected to some individuals up there and some criminal circles up there. So, do all of these criminals know each other? But what does everybody think of these just shocking conspiracies and murders on Lime Kiln Road? I mean, there was even a recent search on Lime Kiln Road not too long ago, right? I think we went over that in connection to the Maura case. So Clark says, I reported a sighting of Maura at West Point campus 2014. She was with 2 young children. I saw her twice in one day, spoke to her both times. I am very sure of my report. It's in the record. I have consistently said that I believe West Point Group is the key to this case. I am retired military, former professor, taught plebes primarily, mentored many young cadets. Taking human error into my account, 95 to 98% certain it was Maura Murray. Adam says AH is not Oh My. Okay. So that was a different individual. That was an AS. Supposedly Oh My is AS. AH is another individual. Man, how many people are we supposed to keep track of in this case? It's starting to feel like Maxwell. Clark Rice says, I saw her face-to-face twice and spoke to her. I guess I haven't seen Julie's image as much, but I'm sure. So this was 2014. At the time, I had never heard of the case. When I saw the ID show, I instantly knew it was her that I had seen and talked to years earlier. Okay. So yes, that is Clark's account. So just the circles of shadiness around this area, regardless of whether Maura made it up there or not, is curious. It is very curious. It is weird though, with the Christmas tree farm being so close to there. Was it searched? And what were the results of the search? And you would think that people would be interviewed. I mean, all of this is just very, very bizarre. I'm trying to find it. Apparently there was some link. There was some other link here. Between Tim Carpenter and some of these other individuals, like, I'm trying to find where that is. Let's not forget also, so Weeper, who was this Frank, the PI Frank Kelly? So Wallaby, okay, so this, okay, here's another issue here. Were there two different rings of criminals? Wow, this would be really dark if Maura got caught between two different groups of criminals, including these bikers. So, Frank Kelly, aka Weeper, actually stopped in at, is this the Barge Inn? And said that there were 4 men seated at a table behind me, similarly attired, discussing a house fire the previous night. Is this the chalet that got burned down? Laughing about the total loss of property when one of the men said they got what they deserved. The others agreed these 4 men were not out-of-towners, nor were they hunters. They were local guys of the lowest ilk. My breakfast arrived. It was a huge breakfast for the cost of a Dunkin' Donuts meal, and as I ate, I overheard several comments about this one and that one, who the rats were, informants, and what they had in mind in dealing with his people. Now, during the hour I was there, I ear-witnessed those referred to here on the sub as scumbags, dirtbags firsthand. There is little doubt in my mind that there are some very bad people living up in that area. Criminals, in fact. So this kind of corroborates everything Oh My was saying. And Wallaby commented in the more Mindshock here that there's more information about the Barge Inn and Chalet Schaffer burning down. Seems there was a possible conflict going on between the two places, and the bikers at the Barge Inn didn't like them stealing their business. I really believe that if locals were on the same page and worked together, they could solve this case. So supposedly, politician John Kerry also came to eat at the Barge Inn, this small restaurant in the middle of nowhere. That's kind of weird. I haven't heard that one before. Is there a source on that? John Kerry ate at the Barge Inn. That's crazy. And of course you have Ghislaine Maxwell's estate about 60 miles south. Oh wow. So much crazy stuff here. Yeah. Oh man. So Adam in the chat, do you recall the connection between Tim Carpenter and Red or some of these other locals. I just saw that earlier. I can't find it right now. Clark says, I reported the sighting to New Hampshire State Police. I was interviewed. Pinto Sack says, who was in the West Point group? I think Bruce did a video on it a while back. Adam says, why did the McDonald's just stop with Butch and Forcier? Did they not go and interview the other houses nearby, especially the Christmas tree farm? It seems it would have been easy enough. Well, maybe they did, right? We have no way of knowing whether they did or didn't. Who knows how much information wasn't made public? Or were they scared off at that point? That's interesting. Were they scared? Maybe they tried and they were scared off. Clark says, I only know some of the pieces of the puzzle. Maybe you could ask Bill Rausch, Julie Murray, Billy's roommates, and fellow students, or you could just ask McDonald for Kate Markopoulos' number. Wait a second, Clark writes. Did I ask you about that rumor? There was a rumor that Markopoulos was involved with a West Point professor. Was that McDonald? And Markopoulos had supposedly ran at least one meet at West Point. Yeah, I mean, the overlap here is just insane. I mean, just statistically, of all these people knowing each other. Just both at West Point, UMass, and the Haverhill area. I mean, we're in coincidence overload. Absolute coincidence overlap. Yeah, I was just looking for that one more coincidence with Tim Carpenter, and I can't find it at the moment. Yeah, I can't find it. Alright, we'll do one more Mindshock here. We'll do one more Mindshock. I don't think anybody's going to be ready for this one. Let's go to Officer Pepper. So, we have the one and only Officer Pepper, Bruce McKay, infamous in the area for his antics, pepper spraying old ladies, etc. So, supposedly, Kathy Brunel was his partner, found dead. Now, what's kind of crazy is... So, again, they can say it's suicide, just like in the case with Cecil Smith, but there's unanswered questions. Did the same thing happen to Brunel here? So, Lady Gray here posted rumor, no surprise. Why would a policeman from Franconia and a policewoman from Woodstock arrive in the same car? Are you saying they responded to the scene, meaning they were there? Or are you saying they approached, meaning they headed in that direction? The scene from that direction, a distinction between the two. This kind of thing is important, Rennie. Here's the other thing, too. Like, if cops are dealing drugs, are they also at these local parties, like the Christmas tree farm? So if they're coming and going between these parties and involved in dealing drugs, again, I'm not alleging that it's true or untrue here. I don't know how many times I repeat this, but all these goofs, just basic, practically illiterate goofs, hallucinating that I'm giving contradictory information, or I'm claiming that any of this information is true. Obviously, it is not. I'm not claiming that it is true. I don't know if it is or isn't. We're not falling for logical fallacies here, or false dichotomies, or anything like that. So, lurking for a long time now, but I've heard a rumor similar. The rumor surfaced after Kathy Brunel supposedly took her own life. A group of northern New Hampshire people were planning to offer Maura's family manpower and ATVs to search a place called Glencliff on Route 118. I don't know if any search ever occurred. Because there was mention of Glencliff, my assumption would be that they were supposed to have taken Maura there. This is only my assumption. My thought at the time was also, what would a Franconia policeman and a policewoman from Woodstock be doing in the same car? Then I found the McKay motel thing, which I also thought was very odd, because, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed he was out of his jurisdiction. I proceeded to ask around about Kathy Brunel, but found only that quite a few people think she did not end her own life. I was never able to find out where she was on February 9th, 04. It was said that McKay and Brunel were headed west in a car and picked Maura up. It is not known if they were at the scene where her car was, but they were supposedly heading in that direction. That's an interesting statement. Let's go over that again for the coincidence theorists. It was said that McKay and Brunel were headed west in a car and picked Maura up. It is not known if they were at the scene where her car was. So they picked her up not at her car. None of this was ever really verified that I've heard about it, and I'm inclined to believe it was a rumor. Sometimes, though, I do find that there can be some truth hidden in a rumor, so I listen all the time. So just real quick regarding Nootka Lodge, supposedly this is where some pornographers were located. There's some kind of connection to Stefan and the Nootka Lodge. I wonder if police were also involved in some of this stuff, in which case that could explain it. Was there some kind of party? Was Maura drugged? Were they possibly looking to involve her in some kind of videos, but and not intending to get anything on video regarding to her death? I mean, all of this stuff is just really, really shady, though. I went over this on previous episodes. This was on the previous live Q&A in regard to the Nootka Lodge. But anyway, let's get back to McKay, because here's the new Mindshock. We're going to go back to the year 1995. Where, believe it or not, give me a second to get this on the screen. User since deleted posted that Bruce McKay was actually part of the Haverhill Police in his early years. So there's an article. This is an article from Thursday, August 31st, 95, Valley News. I mean, it is beyond eerie. So apparently this is another situation where there's an alleged suicide. I mean, how many of these alleged suicides occur that are just so shady? Let's go through this article. It is so eerie. Mystery woman in town. Witnesses said last night that Everett appeared to have been in the Woodsville area for about 3 days. During that time, she parked the truck at local businesses along an abandoned road. I wonder which road in 95. and at least one fast food restaurant. She made little contact with people and moved the truck to different locations within about a 5-mile radius. Witnesses remember seeing Everett's distinctive truck, a teal green plus cab 93 GMC, as early as Saturday. Vehicles with Michigan plates, especially a fancy pickup, would be easy to spot in this rural community. The truck belonged to a family member, probably Everett's father, Doulard said. General Motors Financing Division was the registered owner, he said. A Woodsville man who asked not to be identified recalled seeing the truck park on an abandoned section of Route 302, just off the new Route 302, a few miles north of Woodsville. He was parked there most of the day, he said. Or it was parked, the truck. That night, the owners of the Coach and Paddock restaurant and motel on Route 10 saw the truck parked in a side lot, said Carl Miller, the night manager of the business. Is that Carol Miller? Maybe that says Carol Miller. It's a fuzzy article here. It was there off and on for a couple of days, Miller said last night. She never came in and spent most of the time inside. Miller's fiance, Jamie Whiting, said every time he pulled in at night, the person inside the pickup would turn off the interior lights. It just seemed like she was trying to hide, he said. I mean, is Woodsville in the Haverhill area where people from as far as Michigan would go to hide? Like, why would they randomly be there? Again, this is from 1995, by the way. It was in the Coach and Paddock's parking lot that Haverhill police officer Bruce McKay first identified Everett as the occupant of the vehicle. Does anybody know why McKay moved from the Haverhill Police Department? A lot of times police departments will just send officers to other departments if they've been misbehaving, per se, or fire them and they'll just be hired in another department. It's pretty common. So Miller and Whiting called police to have the suspicious vehicle checked out, Miller said. She told a few people in the parking lot that the truck was broken down and that she was waiting until Monday to get it fixed, Miller said. In fact, one restaurant customer recalled the woman asking where she could get some oil for the vehicle. I really feel weird about it, Miller said. I mean, she was right here. I'm just glad she didn't try to rob us. Who knows how many times she might have tried to get in here at night. There's a McDonald's less than a mile from the Coach and Paddock and a few hundred yards from the Subway restaurant that Everett allegedly robbed. Debbie Fox, the swing shift manager there, said she remembers seeing the pickup in the back parking lot for most of the day Sunday. I didn't pay much attention to it, but I remember another worker pointing out the Michigan plates, Fox said. It was there a long time. Conversation at McDonald's shifted to a local gossip about the incident, the town's first armed robbery in perhaps 15 years. Selectman Mike Kidder said Tuesday. Witnesses said Everett was also at the P&H truck stop, an all-night truck stop just across the state line in Wells River, Vermont. The clerk on duty last night said she saw the pickup truck over by the diesel pumps and saw a lot of police cruisers in the parking lot on Monday night. I didn't know what was going on, said the woman who asked not to be identified. They came flying in here and then took off up there, she said, pointing out the window towards Route 302 West. Is that 302 or 300 West? I can't tell. Waiting for money. The clerk at P&H also recalls a man calling on Monday afternoon, desperately trying to wire money to someone in the area. The truck stop is one of the few places in the area where money can be wired, the woman said. The truck stop handles MoneyGram transactions, and the man was trying to wire using Western Union services, the clerk said. The man, who didn't say where he was calling from, had called other places from info she gathered during the conversation. I didn't think anything of it until just now, she said. Isn't that funny? Another man at the truck stop who also asked not to be identified said he found out... There's a lot of people who don't want to be identified, aren't there? I wonder what they're all involved with. Said he found out what was going on and alerted police that the pickup truck went south on Interstate 91. The on-ramp to the interstate is almost directly across from the entrance of the truck stop. I've got a family in Woodsville, and I didn't want her out there running around, he said, who knows what she might have done. Robbery, then a chase. What Everett did, police charge, is use a gun late Monday night to force an employee of the Subway sandwich shop on Smith Street to give her $211 and some food. The clerk at the sandwich shop reported that Everett said she wanted food for her children. There were small toy cars in the front seat of her truck, but Dillard said, we have no indication from anywhere that kids were involved in this. Could they have been in the back seat at one time? Police from several law enforcement agencies in Vermont and New Hampshire chased Everett down Interstate 91 through 2 roadblocks until she swerved off the road moments before the truck would have crossed a row of spikes set up by the police to flatten its tires. Wait, so she's like an expert getaway driver? She swerved off the road moments before. At night? How did she see them at night? At 11:42 p.m., the truck swerved into the median and ended up on an embankment where it rolled over once, coming to rest on its wheels. Inside the truck, police found Everett alive, but with a severe head injury. McKay of the Haverhill Police was involved in the highway chase and was the first emergency medical technician on the scene. In an interview last night, McKay, who works with the Woodsville Ambulance Squad, said, and I wonder how many buddies he had that were involved in EMT, fire department, etc. by 2004. So on the scene, it could only see that the truck had left the road. He had no indication that the driver had been shot. He went to see if police had the driver in custody and saw that the vehicle had rolled over. The driver's side door was ajar. The passenger side door was crushed shut. Everett was lying on her side on the seat. She had severe trauma to her head, McKay said. Later, after medical personnel were able to more closely examine Everett, they saw the entry wound was in the left side of her neck, McKay said. Does anybody trust anything Officer Pepper is saying? I mean, this is dark stuff. Again, I'm not alleging that he killed her or anything like that, but just, would you trust Officer Pepper? She had an open skull wound, and McKay worked to keep her breathing passage clear. McKay said he had no concept of time as he was just focused on keeping her alive. A trained EMT and defibrillator certified, McKay determined the head trauma was so severe that to receive adequate care, Everett needed to be taken to a trauma center and not just a hospital, he said. The Dartmouth-Hitchcock Air Response Team was then called. McKay is not sure who made ensuing decisions, but the D-Hart helicopter was engaged, so Life Flight from the University of Massachusetts in Worcester, Massachusetts was called. Life Flight would have taken the patient to the nearest trauma center, McKay said. A paramedic interception team arrived at the scene after the Springfield ambulance came with its EMT. Intermediates, McKay said. The medical professionals kept Everett's airway clear and set up intravenous tubes to restore fluids. She was losing, he said. And they kept talking to her. We hoped she would be able to reach inside and give her the will to fight, or the will to live, or whatever she needed, McKay said. After enough personnel arrived on the scene, Everett was extricated from the truck. She was taken on a backboard in the ambulance and sent up for what we were anticipating would be a lot of work, McKay said. While the EMTs worked inside the ambulance, McKay said he remained outside to provide heart and pulse monitors and set up an automatic defibrillator. The late flight helicopter arrived at 12:30 a.m. within minutes after Everett was taken to the ambulance, he said. The emergency medical crew was working on Everett, but then it came to a stop, McKay said. Regional Medical Examiner Dr. Jeffrey Bianconi officially pronounced Everett dead at 12:32 a.m. Medical Examiner Dr. Steve Adams ruled Everett died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Police said they found a Colt .380 semi-auto pistol in the cab of the truck. McKay said it appeared that Everett shot herself before her vehicle left the road. She had as good as it gets for emergency medical care, McKay said. He praised the teamwork and professionalism in the midst of a tragic situation. I just thought the guys did a very admirable job. I mean, it's just weird. So this strange woman shows up just randomly in town in Woodsville, of all places, She allegedly robs the subway, takes police on a high-speed chase, and then allegedly shoots herself. Was anybody with McKay? I would like to know that. Was he alone when he found her? So again, the rumors are he would often go nose to nose with vehicles and pepper spray old women and all of that. That's why he was nicknamed Officer Pepper by the locals. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. But this area in the middle of nowhere just has so much strangeness, doesn't it? Clark Rice says, did McDonald's ask if locals had seen her, or did they see? They already knew where she was. They were canvassing to find out who and what people saw and reported. There is such a rumor. I think unlocking West Point is the key. Maybe better to discuss conversationally. It's hard to type out in chat responses. I mean, yeah, I don't know if we can write off anything at this point, but this local angle is just so strange, regardless of whether she made it out there or not. It's just so mind-shocking. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Adam, are you referring to Concrete Guy? Adam says, I wonder if they also searched Glencliff because of another rumor on his old MySpace page he was living in Glencliff. Are you referring to Concrete Guy, he who shall not be named? Clark says, whatever happened that led to leaving the car where it was left was a big wrench in the participants' plan. Yeah, it appears so. Clark says, if Maura Murray did escape, I agree with James Renner that it might be best to let sleeping dogs lie. Do you really think so? Okay. Well, how do you explain this local situation, Clark? Like, Clark, what are your thoughts on this entire episode? Wow, Adam in the chat says, yes, he was referring to so Concrete Guy was supposedly in Glencliff. Also, McKay had even scarier rumors surrounding him, rape and murder. Wow, that's really dark. Yeah, I thought it was limited to assault, but wow. That's really dark. This just reminded me of just a horror movie. Because if Officer Pepper has this track record, I'm not alleging he is. This is just what the locals called him. If he has a track record of just these dark crimes, is he showing up first? And killing people and then claiming they committed suicide? I mean, that's like right out of like a horror movie plot. Yeah, this is really dark stuff, but just the amount of strangeness in that entire area is just absolutely crazy. I mean, is it possible 100% of the rumors are all false? I mean, I don't know. Some people say where there's smoke, there's fire. Coincidence theorists hate that saying, of course, but so any final thoughts here before we wrap this up? I mean, obviously we have way more to go over. There's a bunch more to go over, but there's only so much we can go over per episode without getting into some, crazy lengths. Adam says, I think some of those McKay rumors were posted with the Kathy Brunel rumors. One poster described him as being pure evil and staging suicides all over New Hampshire. Yeah, there's a lot of dark stuff. I mean, Troop F specifically appears to have, a lot of issues. And I actually went over quite a few cases from that area. I mean, there just seems to be so much darkness. Yeah, and again, supposedly New Hampshire is one of the safest states in the United States, one of the safest areas, so obviously that doesn't mean it's safe, that just means it might, on average, statistically, it's safer than other places. But yeah, just the amount of darkness and rumors, it's so weird. It's so weird. Any final thoughts from anybody here before we wrap this up? Adam says there's more McKay stuff from topics for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you post it, we can go over it. I mean, this is obviously the most exhaustive and comprehensive analysis on the Maura murder case here. I mean, yeah, again, we're going to be approaching 100 episodes soon. You know, I don't know if I was just naive, but I really thought the case would be solved just by the sheer amount of info that's available in this case. It's a lot more than some of these other cold cases where there's really just not much at all. Like, look at some of these other cold cases. There's just just a few pieces of info, and that's it. There aren't dozens and dozens of shady people around the alleged area where the missing person disappeared, allegedly. You know, there's not even these many questions about where they disappeared from. Because here we have West Point, we have UMass, and we have the Haverhill area, and there are no definitive answers any one of these places. From West Point to UMass to Haverhill. There are no definitive answers no matter where you look. So let's wrap this up then. I'll be doing a Johnny Gosh Q&A as well. Some interesting pieces of info in that case as well. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us for another edition of Mindshock True Crime. You want to help support the podcast, keep up awareness in unsolved cases, cold cases, missing persons cases. You can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. This is Bruce McKay signing off. Catch you guys next time.